this isn't working for me. And I don't doubt your existence, God, but I doubt what I thought I understood about you.
Welcome back to Project Red.
We've got Michael Farren, everybody.
Yeah.
And what broke Peter was when Jesus reached down and picked up that ear, or stepped up, put it back on that guy's head. And Peter in an instant realized, oh, crap, I've been building the wrong kingdom. Because in his mind, Jesus was about to overthrow the Romans.
Yep.
And in an instant, Jesus pulled the kingdom rug out from under him. And I think that's where I found myself, 2018 to 2019.
What's up, and welcome back to another episode of Project Red. This month, our word is Crux. In climbing, the crux is where everything narrows. It's where strength, skill, and belief have to meet.
All right, so here we are. We got a amazing guest with us on Project Red today. He goes back a lot of years to the huge country of itself, Texas.
God bless.
And God bless Texas. Everything is bigger, right, Michael?
It is.
Yeah, we've got a dear friend of ours, and he's doing so many cool things. And he's going to exemplify the word crux because his life, like all of ours, has gone up and down and all around. But I want to welcome amazing writer, amazing father, amazing husband, and entrepreneur, and all the things. We've got Michael Farren, everybody.
Yes. Come on.
So we're excited. We're going to be jumping in and digging in to more about Michael. It's going to be an epic time.
All right, Michael, before we get to the climb itself, tell us some about the landscape of your life right now. What are you building, leading, or creating that you would call your current endeavor?
Well, it's a great question, and from that intro, it's all downhill from here. By the way,
no.
So I've been in Nashville from the great nation of Texas. I've been here about 20 plus. I've been here 20 plus years. Been working here 25 years, and it's always been in the musical thing. I was a worship leader. We had a band for a lot of years. The last 15 years,
Pocket Full of Rocks, legendary.
In the last 15 years, I just write full time and produce songs.
How many songs do you think you've written, Michael?
Oh my Lord!
Like literally, if you could count them all right now, how many have you written?
I write 250 songs a year.
Wow!
And I don't miss a year, and that's went on for decades.
Oh my God!
That's amazing.
So simple math is a lot.
A lot. Let's just say I have my 10,000 hours.
There you go. Wow.
I
and
love
then some. You did that before you even started your 10,000 hours in writing.
You and I were talking at dinner. We were a spontaneous worship band, so everything was written on the stage in real time. Pocket Full of Rocks we never had a set list, so a lot of that would be, even how I write now was attributed to the fact that I stood on stages every night with brilliant musicians, and it was a jam band doing worship. That's all. So you count all of that, and then just the hours I spend on a day. It's the job, and I love it. So
what a wild idea that you were spontaneous worship. So how were you doing that? What led you?
In kind of the simple premise, I like to say that great songwriters are just great listeners. You put it in the context of worship or congregational settings, then it's becoming very sensitive to what you feel like the Holy Spirit's doing in a moment. And as a songwriter, my wife said it best. She says, some days you're a songwriter and some days you're a song receiver. And I think that's pretty well clarifies that. So standing on a stage with your friends that you're really in tune with musically and spiritually in heart, and then you're standing there in front of a couple of thousand college students, and it doesn't take much to figure out what's probably blowing through the moment, and you just find a melody and a lyric that matches it and run with it.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that word, in tune. That sounds like that captures it perfectly. You got to be in tune to be in that space.
We had a lot of fun hours.
Yeah. So what are you endeavoring to do right now? As we were just asking, what are you creating, or what are you building right now?
So the songwriting thing is truly my deepest passion. I love songs. I love songwriters. guys who are creatives, you generally are good at a number of things. You're proficient. I'm good at, I feel like I love to teach. I'm a pretty good teacher. And if you turn me loose teaching about songwriting, I love that.
Heart of a teacher. That's awesome.
I love to curate experiences. I hosted master classes. And so at the risk of sounding like I'm being egotistical or arrogant, we're gifted in a number of things. But I will say, if I've learned a real important lesson in the last season of my life, is that being gifted at a number of things can sometimes be at the expense of all the things. And so I felt like about 5 years ago, God kind of gave me this picture of a dartboard. If there was a big dartboard on the wall over here, and you were to write everything you're good at on that dartboard. And I did. I took a piece of paper and I wrote all this down. I promise this is answering your question, but
no worries.
I'll do it this way.
I love it.
I'll do it this way. I wrote down everything I was good at, and I wrote it on this dartboard, just like in a tavern where you just, and I felt like I heard the Lord say, "What's your dying breath?" And I was like, and I felt like as it kind of unrolled in my heart, it was like, and this sounds morbid, but it's not. If you knew you were going to die in 5 minutes and you could leave this earth to go meet Jesus doing one of those things, what would it be? And it all of a sudden makes you go, oh. Well, for me, a number of years ago, it was like, I hope I'm writing a song. That's the dying breath for me. Creatively, it's like, that's my creative dying breath. And about 5 years ago, I started throwing the dart only at that. Well, up till then, there was master classes and publishing, and I had writers signing me. And I'm constantly throwing, and whatever's screaming the loudest is what you throw the darts at, right?
Squeaky wheel.
But do you know what? You know what you hit when you're throwing at 13 out on the edge? Half the time you hit the wall. Yeah. You know what you never hit? The bullseye. And the last 5 years, I think, have been this season of me learning how to throw at my dying breath. And that, you know what you hit every time you aim at the bullseye? The dartboard. You're going to hit something. And so if you'll start trying to serve the one thing, it will make all the other stuff start spinning around it. And so you ask what I'm doing now. Of all the things you would think I need to be doing is opening a bar, restaurant, music venue. And yet as I look at it, and my friends are like, "You're doing what?" And I'm like, songs demanded it. And it really, in a lot of ways, has been effortless. Like the last 9 months have been crazy. Came out of nowhere. Like I found the building, this beautiful, gorgeous building down in Columbia, Tennessee. Friends of mine that own it found it in one text message. It had the keys to it in 15 minutes.
Wow.
Whoa. Opened 3 months later. We're 7 months in. Tickets for a Saturday night to hear songwriters that I care deeply about are 3 weeks out. You can't get in for 3 weeks. And it's been wild. And I tell people, I don't have stress and anxiety about it. Frustration because I want other phases of it to be built out, but I don't stress it because I didn't stress to get it born. And I have to equate that directly to the kindness of God just going, hey, this is how some of this works in your life. And so my endeavors currently are I still write songs every day for the most part. And then by the afternoons or so, I'm making sure a restaurant bar opens and got an amazing crew. And it just feels kind of natural. And
dude, I love that. So going back to the fact that you've written so many songs, but before that you were the spontaneous worship thing. And you did have songs that affected so many people. I mean, songs that people hung on to, that it was a song that moved them. It was a song that touched them in their spirit. And, that kind of thing. So when you sit down to write or, create something again, what's the thing that drives that now? Or what's the heartbeat or the hope that you want people to feel?
I'm grateful for sure that there's been some songs along the way that have mattered to people. And thankfully some of them still do. Yeah. Cause I like to pay bills and just, right. I'm glad that they still
the simple things. Yeah.
Mama and the kids like to eat. I go back to just I try to be a great listener. And so, back then I was trying to listen to what I felt like God was doing in a room. Yeah. My days for the last 15 years now are trying to love artists well. And if I can get them talking and just listen, I said it yesterday to the artist I hadn't written with in a couple of years. She came in and she's catching me all up. And I said, well, what do you want to write today? She goes, I don't really know. I know I need stuff, but I don't really know. And I just know how to pour coffee and keep them talking.
Yep.
Inevitably, they'll say the thing they want to write, and it's my job to serve them well by listening.
Yeah.
And so I think people freak out when I say I write 250 songs a year, like it's like I'm a guy full of great ideas. No, I'm just a guy who knows how to listen, because the people in the room are full of great ideas. And I think that's why it never gets old. And I never feel tired or exhausted with it. I literally could write all day. The craft of it is almost muscle memory now. Mm-hmm. So if I'm being fed great stories and just great narratives out of beautiful people, how did you not just sit there all day and do that?
Yeah,
It's like, I don't know. The answer to that is just, I think it's still just trying to love them well by listening.
Yeah.
And it keeps me from being burned out. Maybe I'll stir up something here. I do not believe in writer's block. I think it's an absolute self-imposed hoax.
Oh man. Wow.
I do not believe in writer's block. At what point do you run out of something to write about? The only point that you run out of something to write about is you have climbed off in your mom's basement and you are only about yourself. And if I were left to me, if I were writing 250 songs for Michael every year, I wouldn't write 250 songs, and that would get boring really quick.
Yeah, exactly.
But you and I could go down to the coffee shop down the street, stand there, and before we got up to order, we would have 3 song ideas from what people were saying around us, because we know how to listen,
yeah.
right?
I think it sounds like to me that you're really good at pulling stuff out of people, or like you said, you'll listen first, and you get them talking, and then you just the I don't know if you want to call it Holy Spirit or the professionalism, or you've done it so many times, you can just kind of hear, hey, I think that's what we're supposed to kind of key on, right?
Yeah. And, some would almost call it exploitive, because, the adage is if they're crying, they're buying. I will make much of your sad story. But I think I even said last night, we're like sharks, like songwriters that are just like sharks. They're just smelling blood in the water. So there is a true, and especially as believers, there does come in this pastoral thing almost.
Absolutely. I know you have a heart for the people you're writing with and all that. You're not like that at all.
I laugh about being exploitive, because so much of what you do as a songwriter in that world, by listening, there's a lot of good conversation, counsel, if you will.
Yeah, there you go.
That falls into that. And so trying to be sensitive to that and loving them well in that. I actually told the artist yesterday in a session, at the end of it, she had a pretty deep, meaningful moment. She had a different kind of week, and we wrote a song specifically to that.
Yep.
And she's like, I love this song. And I was able to go, you know what? If this song was only for you today, I really am okay with that.
That's so good.
And I meant it.
Yeah.
Now I would love for it to be a 1 million copy seller too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So how are you creating a space where these writers come in and they feel comfortable being vulnerable with you? Like, what's that look like?
And again, it's just how God's wired that pastoral thing.
Yeah.
I think certain people walk with my dad. My dad is a pastor in Texas still. And it doesn't matter where he goes, random strangers will just start telling him their story.
Amazing.
Because he walks with an air of grace. And I think pastors, prophets, teachers, evangelists, apostles, those 5-fold ministry things. I think people who have that wired thing of pastor on them just naturally put people at ease.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, stories for other days, but in the worst season of my life, when I was the furthest away and really fighting God on ministry things and just hanging out anywhere away from a church, I couldn't run from it in a bar, if I may be bold enough to say that. I could. Sure. People were going to tell me their story. I say all that to say it's not even my goodness, or it's just the Spirit of God inside of you and the way He's wired us. As real believers are just going to walk with an air of graciousness that people will lean into. So I don't know. I can't take much credit for creating the atmosphere. It's just the Spirit inside. Because it doesn't matter if it's in a van rolling down the road or in a really nice writer's room on my Music Row or on a beach. So it doesn't matter where it's at. It's the atmosphere that people just lean into and go, I want to tell you my story. And so,
we'll jump into some early experiences since you kind of went back a little bit about your dad. But what early experiences as you were in Texas and then made a move to Franklin? How do you feel like that shaped kind of everything and how you see worship, how you see your work today, all the things?
That's a great question. I grew up in North Texas, Independent, fundamental, premillennial, King James, 1611 Baptist.
All right.
I'll say that again for everybody.
Yeah, please. One more time,
Independent,
Michael.
fundamental, premillennial, King James, 1611 Baptist. On the sign
great.
where my grandfather pastored to this day in Atlanta, Texas. If you drive to the church that he planted in, I don't know, the late 70s, to this day, you drive by it says Beulah Land Baptist Church. On the sign, independent, fundamental, premillennial, King James 1611. Everybody welcome.
So
Which
great.
you don't understand the irony of that sign until you're older. So I was raised. My grandfather was a pastor. My dad is still a pastor. I was raised in the church, and I was raised in a very musical scenario. So grew up singing Southern gospel music, and I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music. You know, that particular cultural brand of Baptist, we thought Southern Baptists were liberal and going to hell. You know, it was like, they did it. My parents, I got to give them credit. They were, that whole sheltered child thing, they were pros. Like,
oh man,
we didn't have a TV. I didn't wear shorts. You know, my hair couldn't touch my ears. Went to a Christian school. I was wildly sheltered. Thank God I had an uncle who was the black sheep of the family.
All right.
And when I was about 12 years old, no lie, he handed me a cassette tape of Bruce Hornsby and the Range.
Oh,
and I remember the first time, I mean, we didn't have TV.
That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah. And I remember the first time I heard Bruce Hornsby, and I was already piano, you know, I was singing and playing with my family in Southern gospel camp meetings and church.
Tell us all the instruments you played back then.
So back then, oddly enough, I started piano lessons when I was 5. I picked up the bass when I was like 8. And so I was playing bass, you know, for the Southern gospel stuff and singing or whatever. And I didn't pick up guitar till I was about 12 or 13 years old.
Okay.
But I remember hearing Bruce Hornsby in my brain going, I've never heard anything like this. And what now I know is like stride piano. And I never heard anything like that. And then I know this sequential order of this to this day. Core memory here. The second cassette tape he handed me was Phil Collins. And I remember the first time I heard I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight, I wept. I didn't know what was going in the air tonight, but I loved it. I was like, and then he handed me Crowded House.
Oh,
and he started, and then he handed me Loverboy, which was a weird one for me. I was like,
that's a little.
I still remember that cassette tape cover, leather pants, you know, and the whole thing. So I just had this. He's still my favorite uncle. You know, he fed me stuff. So musically, I get hymns, Southern gospel, and country music. We could listen to country music, but as I started into my teen years, my mind exploding with all this. The world of music. And then later in my teenage years discovered, you know, Stephen Curtis Chapman. And I thought, I want to be that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
And I had a really good mullet back then too. So I thought there was a chance. It didn't take long before the Stephen Curtis thing, CCM, that I thought I would start running down towards as I got into my early 20s. The worship became more and more.
Did you go to college or did you do that route?
So I grew up in the same town as David Crowder. We're the same age. He and I attended Texarkana Community College for one semester together. And then he left that semester and went to Baylor, and I went to work at the windshield factory. Okay. And so one semester of college, then the music thing started kicking up pretty quickly there. Yeah. But the worship thing really started to kind of become more what I was being not drawn into, what I was pulled into, and I fought it. I really wanted to do the straight, just CCM thing. And the more I fought it, the more I got pulled into leading worship. And
were you married at this time?
Yeah, I got married at 20 and 21 and had kids pretty quick.
Yeah. So it was a husband and wife thing, and you.
She wouldn't date me, so I asked her to sing in a band when she was 18.
That's the way to do it.
And so it works, guys. It works, guys.
So good.
So I was married, and then by my early 20s, we had launched Pocket Full of Rocks, which we did for 16 years.
Amazing. Wow. I love that rundown. That was epic.
I don't remember the question. I'm sorry.
No, you answered it beautifully, Michael. Beautifully.
So was there a specific moment in all of that where, you know, it's just this passion for music switched into a calling for your endeavor into worship and now what you're doing now?
I can't say there was, I think it was a process. There was a defining moment where we went to There used to be a thing called GMA in the Rockies.
Yeah, GMA in the Rockies. Estes Park, beautiful place.
We drove from Texas to Estes Park.
Unbelievable.
Drove
That's
in
a
van.
haul.
We showed up, didn't really know what we were getting into. I just heard that there was this GMA contest, which you probably judged and played at numerous times. And I remember rolling up, though. We drove all day and all night.
I was a yes, Michael. I was a yes.
Oh, gosh. We drove all day, all night, got there, rolled into Estes Park at like 9 o'clock in the morning. It said it started at 10. There's hundreds of people. It felt like, in this registration room. And then they broke up all the the bands are over here and the male vocal. It was basically the early version of Christian Idol. Yeah, it was. And it was like a big contest.
All the industry people were there.
So we were in the band division, obviously. And I remember that we're pretty excited. We're like, this is going to be great. And we had our best Jars of Clay Mimic songs ready to go. And then they said, all right, first up in our band competition at 10:30 is Pocket Full of Rocks. And we're like, what? We had just rolled in. We thought this was a day process. They said you have to be on the stage in 15 minutes. We're in jogging pants and hoodies. And we rushed to get our gear, ran it up on stage, and they said, go. We're like, we hadn't even changed clothes that day. There's no time. So Pocket Full of Rocks is on stage.
No sound check, no nothing.
And I won't throw anybody under the bus, but Eddie DeGarmo was one of the judges.
Oh, of course.
And, of course, I was a big fan of, DeGarmo and Keith.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
And we got it there, and we just killed. And I kid you not, God is my witness, 2 months ago, a friend of mine found the scorecards from 99 when we were there.
No way.
And Eddie DeGarmo on the bottom of it. And he actually, and if he ever sees this or hears this, I'll say, thank you, Eddie. We lost the competition because they scored on presentation. We were in jogging pants and hoodies. But he scored us really high musically. And he said, really good vocalist, which I treasured at the time. Eddie said I was a good vocalist. So we lost the contest, and I was devastated because the band that won it won on a cover of Stevie Wonder's Superstition and they weren't even a band 6 months later. You never heard of them again.
Wow.
And it devastated me. I was so angry. But right after that, we ended up leading worship in Colorado Springs at this really large youth event. And it was a guy named Lou Engle. And it was one of the early iterations of what became The Call. Yeah. And we had just written the song Let It Rain, and we sang Let It Rain for 5,000 kids for a week. And you couldn't turn it off. And it was that 1 week that I went, okay, I'm done trying to be Stephen Curtis Chapman. Yeah. I would love that, but God's using that man in beautiful ways. And I guess I'm called to this. Yeah. Trying to curate holy moments that are more vertical. And that's when I finally made a switch, but it was gradual getting there. But there was a Estes Park to that moment in Colorado Springs when I realized, this whole spontaneous worship thing is for this season and it works. Let's just go.
That's amazing.
And so I turned that switch off and off we went.
Yeah. I love it. So great.
Do you carry any of that spontaneous element into your writer's rounds now?
Sometimes, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really more freaky in the writing room.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because if, it's it feels like a parlor trick, but it really is just muscles that I work for so long, but I'm really fast as a songwriter. Yeah. And I've had to learn to
slow down
because you can overwhelm somebody.
There you go.
Because if I hear what they're, if they say the phrase and I know it's a thing, I can spit back a verse and a chorus without thinking. And they're like, what just happened? Or I had pre-written it or something. It's so I've had to learn to breadcrumb things along the way. And I will say this too, before it gets egotistical. Yeah. My gift I like to tell people, my gift to the party is that we're not going to stare at the wall and think of something to write. My gift is we will have something to work with, but I'm very open-handed after that initial, here's something. Is this something? And then I'm very open-handed with people going, let's rearrange.
I love your humility. That's so cool.
Well,
that's awesome.
It's just that I don't like staring at walls and let's get something going. So
that's great.
So having worn multiple hats, you've got artist, pastor, mentor, and now with Bourbon Gospel.
Bar owner.
Restaurant.
So many different endeavors. How do those fit together in your calling? How they've got to work together somehow.
It's going to sound like I just keep repeating the same stuff, but it's just the only answer I literally had a coffee meeting this morning, and I've told numerous of my friends this. I was on staff at churches for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it all fits together still under this one thing. I cannot escape the pastoral calling on my life. And I thought I stepped away from church ministry in 2018.
Yeah.
Turns out running a restaurant is just like working at a church.
Absolutely.
It is. If your staff is happy, things function pretty well.
Yeah.
If the customers are happy, if the service is good, the offerings go up. If the service is bad, the offerings go down. If they don't like the music you're playing, they will tell me this doesn't sound like a church.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you change the carpet, they'll tell you about it. I thought I had left that kind of ministry. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I do. It somehow falls under this umbrella of, I just love to gather people.
Yeah.
And I think probably just my gifting, how I'm wired is I'm going to gather them with something musical.
Yep.
So whether that was in a church, on staff at a church leading worship, or whether that's in a restaurant bar with a music venue, our byline at Bourbon Gospel is holy moments in unlikely places. So we still very much know that we're curating holy moments in unlikely places.
Yeah.
We end every writer's round we do singing Amazing Grace together with the whole crowd.
Great.
And it's so and I hope it doesn't offend anybody that hears this or sees this, but I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever encountered to, on a Saturday night down there, say, all right, everybody sing. And you got some Jesus loving sweet lady with both hands in the air crying, and you got some guy with his old fashioned in the air singing as loud as he can. And I look at it and I go, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And every week somebody says, I don't know what I felt tonight, but that was great. Aww. I know what they felt. So to your question, it all still falls under the same umbrella. I can't escape it, even though I've tried.
Yeah. So, well, that brings us back to our word, crux, and that's a narrowing space, maybe on a climb. In Haiti, we have the old saying, it's a fable that says, beyond mountains are more mountains. So it's the idea of climbing mountains. You get to the top and you think you've arrived. Nope. You got to go down the other side and you got another mountain to climb. And so on the climb, the crux is that narrowing. It's that place that gets tough, that place that you might get stuck on. Think about maybe a time like that you've had in your life, and this idea where your faith was tested, or you were really challenged, or you maybe went through a difficult section on your climb that you had to really, muster up a lot of courage and, man, do I really believe what I believe, or how do I keep going? Just a time like that, it was the crux, and man, I just had to dig in and keep going,
How real can I be on this podcast?
You can be totally real, man. That's what we love.
I spent a couple of decades standing on stages all over the world, declaring the goodness of God and being very vocal about the kingdom of God and the church and God is good. And we're more than overcomers. To find myself in 2018, 2019, drinking a fifth a day, in a marriage that fell apart at 25 years and angry with God, because I felt like my thing was, I've given you my whole life. Yeah. And you have dropped me on my head. I've served you well. Wow. You talk about the crux, I guess. Again, not to be offensive to some people who are on their journeys, but I really dislike the whole deconstruct thing. Yeah. I dislike it a lot, but I can't say I have a better word for what even I went through, but maybe at some point I said, this isn't working for me. And I don't doubt your existence, God, but I doubt what I thought I understood about you. And 2018 and 2019 were that defining moment for me of figuring out, okay, who are you really to me, and who am I to you? And the scripture that a lot of people are familiar with would be a lot of sermons preached about Peter at the burn barrel when they were putting Jesus on trial and he denies him 3 times, and the rooster crows, before the rooster crows 3 times, you'll deny me, Peter. And most of the time, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I've heard that story more often preached, that Peter chickened out on Jesus and was a coward over there. And it's so not the case, because you can't call a guy a coward in that moment when just a few hours before in the garden, he was the only one facing a platoon of soldiers with a sword going, no, they won't.
Yeah.
But here's what happened. He took a swing protecting this Messiah. He had given up everything to follow, right? Takes a swing, misses or whatever, takes off his ear. And what broke Peter was when Jesus reached down and picked up that ear, or stepped up, put it back on that guy's head, and looked at Peter and went, that's not what I'm about. And Peter in an instant realized, oh, crap. I've been building the wrong kingdom.
Yeah.
Because in Peter's mind, for 3.5 years, he had given up his job, spending all his time away from his family to serve this Messiah, because in his mind, Jesus was about to overthrow the Romans.
Yep. Set up a new kingdom.
He was going to establish it, and Peter was going to be his right-hand man. And in an instant, Jesus pulled the kingdom rug out from under him. And I think that's where I found myself in 2018 and 2019.
Wow.
Of like, oh, so much of what I thought I was building, so much that I thought meant so much, was so not off, but stuff he never even really said, go do.
Yeah.
It was way simpler than I ever thought. And I think the last 7 years of my life have been this journey of discovering the kindness of God. But to the point of Crux, I guess, for me, I had told people, I had written songs about him being able to really put up with our screaming, yelling, and questions. Yeah. Well, it turns out he really can. But I didn't know it deeply until I actually did it. Yeah. Until there was end of 2019, me with middle fingers in the air going, don't talk to me anymore. And he woke me up the next morning with a revelation of his kindness that has wrecked me every day since. And it wasn't sermons. It wasn't rules. It wasn't trying to do better. It wasn't me trying to fix myself. It was revelation. And I woke up out of a dead sleep and felt like I heard the Lord go, you done now? You good?
Yeah.
You good? This adult temper tantrum you've been throwing? You good? And it really did change me. It wrecked me in one moment. And it was months after that my wife and I were back together. And this whole fifth a day thing started to just on its own cure itself. And here we are, 32 years married.
Praise God.
Really well and having a lot of fun. Doing all kinds of crazy stuff like starting a restaurant bar or whatever. We're having a lot of fun. But that question of like, if there's a defining what would make me press on up a mountain. Yeah. I don't know that I would have pressed on if I had not caught a real revelation that he's good and he's kind. Yeah. And he broke me with it. He broke me with kindness. Yeah. Killed you with kindness. And you don't walk away from that. Yeah. It's a different motivator of why you want to be different all of a sudden. Yeah. I can tell you, hey, you need to be different or this is going to happen. And you will for a little while. Fear-based theology works for a little while. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Revelation of how much he loves us is eternal. Yeah. It changes you from glory to glory. It's a different thing.
It goes deeper, right? Yeah.
And I don't quite fit where I used to fit. My mountains changed, maybe. Oh, wow. The mountains changed. That might be a good way for me to say that. Of like,
the kingdom you're building or the mountain you're climbing, the journey you're on. Yeah, it shifted.
So I went through one pass and down the other side of it. I was like, oh, I think I need to figure out a different mountain range to climb maybe. Yeah. And so the last 5 years have been pretty beautiful. I love it. I hope that answers some of that.
Yeah.
That's so great.
I would love to know because, on this new mountain, you're still going to have another crux. And you can carry that revelation with you. Like you said, it's going to last. But do you have any other practices that help steady yourself when you're going through that?
It's a great question. This is going to sound really selfish, so I'll clarify it as best I can. In my culture and my denominational upbringing, it was just all about Jesus and all about, the kingdom and all about, we weren't really good at loving ourselves well. Yeah. And in that season of my life, 2018, 2019, 2020, really, I started to understand that if I didn't start loving myself well, I wasn't going to love anybody else well.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's pretty biblical. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. I can't love you any better than I love myself.
That's right.
And yet in some cultural context and spiritual context and church context, it's, it's very self-deprecating. It's very, we're the worm on the bottom of the shoe of Jesus. And I get it. But at some point you have to go, oh no, I'm created in his image. That's right. His royal blood runs in my veins. Yep. I think I might want to love myself well.
Yeah.
And about 5 years ago, during that time, I started speaking to myself differently.
I love it.
A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Yeah. I'd never caught it till 5 years ago. I can't stand on a stage and say, God is good and we're more than overcomers, and wake up in the mornings and look myself in the mirror and say, you're a piece of crap, and believe it in my gut. You're a piece of crap. Oh, but we're more than a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So you're going to choose at some point.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're going to believe you're a piece of crap and walk in the negative, or you going to actually believe what Jesus said about us, that I have made you truly good. I love it. And I started telling myself something different. Whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things of a good report. And I started trying my best. And it is my daily practice now to speak the truth over myself. So it doesn't matter the crux. I would encourage, like I encourage myself, that's at least one thing I've nailed down. If I'm going to love myself, well, I'll be okay for my kids. I'll be okay for my wife. And so it looks different for different people. Yeah. What loving yourself in seasons looks like. For me, I've had a season of trying to figure out how to speak truth. And it's not positive thinking.
Totally.
And there's power in positive thinking, but this is where positive thinking works for anybody. It really does, because God wired our brains and created our brains to create.
I mean, you put realities. A smile on your face, you feel better. All those things, yeah.
But here's where that believers really have a different advantage, if you will. Psalm says, before I was created in my mother's womb, you saw me.
Yeah.
All my days were written in a book before one of them came to be.
Yeah.
I've always thought of that as, he looked into the future. He's God, right? He sees all my days and he saw what I would do and he wrote it in a book. I don't know that that's what it means. We have kids. If we're not, but if you were in charge of writing your kid's story before one of their days came to be, would you write a crappy story?
No.
You would write the most epic tale ever written.
Oh, man.
God says, before one of your days came to be, I wrote them down in a book. And I've changed my prayer. I'm like, then this is where the whole positive thinking thing gets different for believers.
Yeah.
My good ideas aren't always good ideas, but I'm like, God, I believe you called me for this season, this life. I want to love myself well because you've already written a story I want to walk out well.
Yeah.
I can have faith for that.
I love it.
I can have faith for that thing. So my prayers have been, is this your story? Is this crazy endeavor down in Colombia? Is that the story? And that was my prayer at the end of last year. Okay, this feels like the story. I can have faith for that. That's why I don't have a lot of anxiety about it. It's not my story. He wrote it. You can't stop that story, right?
Yeah.
You can't stop it. It doesn't matter what the P&L says on any given month.
Yeah. Dude, that's epic.
I'll remind myself of that next month.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter what the P&L says.
Hang on to that every day, every month.
It's not my story. Yeah. It's his story. So I can believe for that, right? And just try to love myself well.
Well, is there, I guess this, you may have already answered, but you could expound maybe a little more. So when you face something that feels impossible or feels hard, or when you're trying to write something and you feel like you can't, you approach writing really different than I've ever heard. So it feels like it comes really more easily. And so you don't get stuck as much as you said, or even a project, that can feel impossible. What is that? Is it some of this feels like that's how you take it on, but there's probably more to it than what I'm asking here.
I think stuff that does get hard or whatever, for me, I do go back and start wrestling. Okay, is this the God story? Because if it's the God story, I really do have a different tenacity now, and it's a Holy Spirit inspired tenacity, not my flesh
manufactured. Yeah.
And it feels different. It's all I know to say. It feels different. And you kind of know when you're not in the God story. Yeah. You just kind of know.
Yeah, you do.
And I think more than anything, and it may be just age. I'm not old, but I'm not young.
Yeah.
But I am, I'll put it this way. With songs, 20 years ago, it would have taken me longer to figure out if a song title was a bad song title. I would have worked on it for 2 weeks and then went, It's not worth it. But I wasted 2 weeks. Well, now I know pretty instinctively that's not worth chasing.
Yeah.
And I think with age and exercise comes
the experience,
things I'm facing that get really, really hard. Get a little quicker going, this is the God thing and it's worth pushing into and let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Or nope, let's just move on. That ain't the God thing.
That's right.
And so I think I spend less time stuck in hard places.
I love that.
And I think that just does come a little bit with age and
experience. What I just heard you say though is when you recognize that God's doing something like the potter and the clay or the arborist and the tree or the pruning and all that stuff, where he's really trying to shape you or move you to a new place or go deeper with you, you want to recognize that and you want to be able to be right there and stay in that. Yeah. That's so good.
I ain't that good. If it wasn't the God story, it'd still be chaos.
No, that's right.
I'm not that good. I'm not that strong.
Yeah.
I think for anybody who can dive into that God story part of that, they might not even recognize they're doing it, but we all know people that instinctively they've stepped into the God story or whatever. You can't stop them. It's going to happen.
So how do you see artistry and authenticity intersecting? We're kind of in a world where we often value performance over presence. So how does that work for you?
That's good, man.
Well, that's a good
say that again. Say it all again.
All right.
Yeah.
So how do you see artistry and authenticity intersecting? Because we're in a world that's valuing performance over presence.
Okay. That's a good question.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. And
we could beat a daggum drum on that.
Yeah. I think artistry is temporary. Authenticity is for life.
Yeah.
So artistry can change. Authenticity stays. Does that make sense? It's
it's real.
Who you are is who you are, no matter what cape you put on it at any point, right? I mean, how many artists do we know that change genres? That happens a lot. And yet there's just some artists, it doesn't matter what they do, it's just authentically them laid out there.
Yeah.
And I think longevity is their friend. That artistry that comes from a place of authenticity has the blessing of longevity.
Wow.
That's
really cool. And this
artistry
performance versus presence thing, that's
the presence is a great way to say it. An authentic person can help be present.
Yeah.
And being present draws people.
Yeah.
People are drawn. It's like moth to a glowing light. It's like, that's an authentic person. I want to hover around that. I want to consume their creative offering.
Yeah.
And in the world that we live in, and I don't bash it, but in the world of TikTok and social media and manufactured artists, it's not hard to mathematically deduce the shelf life of, I don't care if you got 30 million followers on TikTok, your shelf life is limited. Yeah. If an algorithm was kind to you on a day and you are now wearing a cape that's not authentically you, you will eventually have the cape taken off of you, or you will take the cape off yourself. You will. You'll burn it down one way or the other. But I don't know. Longevity is the blessing of authenticity.
I love that.
And even if you morph a bit in your art, it's still you, Yep. An example, if you will.
Yes.
John Mayer.
Okay.
Big John Mayer fan.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Amazing.
The only show I've ever been to where the dude opens for his own self twice. Right? Yeah. And it's so distinct, and yet it's all him. Like, he just is this thing. But I don't know if y'all went to that tour, but I was just sitting there going, this is crazy. Because he walks out on stage, him and a guitar, and he does Neon and a few other songs. And you're like, oh my God, that's stunning. And he's like, thank you and good night. He leaves. And then 8 minutes later, he comes back out with the trio.
So good.
And he does a whole nother thing. And you're like, holy crap. And it's still John. It's still John Mayer.
Yeah.
And then they blow your mind with the show. And then he leaves and he comes back full band, crazy eyed, and does and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And there's many more, and he is that guy that you just know is not going away. He is not a one-hit wonder or overnight success. And because he's always kind of been, even though he morphed in his artistry, the authenticity gave him longevity. So as an example. And
you're kind of leading us into the next idea. So what would you say to a bunch of young people out there who, you mentioned TikTok and the other platforms, but someone who truly wants to you know, be a leader, be a writer, be a worship, you know, be in worship, be in music, you know, facing themselves, really, you know, their authentic self, or are they going to put on a front and all those things, you know? How would you give them a word maybe right now? And then they're going to face cruxes. They're going to face hard times. They're going to face things like we all do. You know, what encouragement would you give them? Or maybe some disciplines or some truths that, you know, could keep them anchored, could keep them. Some people just got to go through it, but you know, there's some that, you know, they'll heed a good word and it might divert them from having to go through something tough, unless the Lord wants to take them there for a growing season, you know.
It is the privilege of every young person to have to figure out who they really are.
That is true.
It's the privilege
to
figure out who you are. However, at any age, you can put a North Star, if you will, and go for this season, for this thing. And it's back to that dying breath. If you would have asked me 15 years ago what my dying breath was, I would have probably said, if I'm going to die in 5 minutes doing something that I'm called to, I hope it's leading worship, which would have been awkward for a congregation for me to die while leading worship. But that's the heart of it. It's like, no, I will give everything to this dying breath.
Yeah.
But that was the season, and it was right and true and authentic for then.
Yeah.
Now it's writing a song. I hope that, 5 minutes I hope I'm writing the best song I've ever written. And so giving yourself grace to let that change and let that grow. But having something like God didn't miss a chapter in your story.
Nope.
And at every chapter, every age, every growth spurt or every crux, there is still a defining part of the story that you can lean into, go, God, what is the defining? But he will never tease us with that. He's not a tease. You wouldn't tease your kids. I wouldn't tease my kids. I wouldn't trick them with things. So
that's right.
I think a generation is going to have, this is an encouragement to a generation that is going to have to learn to be quiet again. There's a lot of noise.
Yep.
Even I can get sucked into
the noise. Yeah.
23-year-olds are going to have to learn to be okay with being quiet for a moment, being very still and very quiet.
Yeah.
Because the divine story unravels itself into your spirit in quiet moments, not while you are scrolling TikTok.
Yeah. So true.
I think there's an upside to a lot of technology we have. Yeah. I think the craft of songwriting is at its essence people who have learned how to say a lot with very minimal real estate of word economy. I think great songwriters, inspiration. Divine inspiration is no respecter of person. A great song idea the same idea. You can hear it and I can hear it. Well, obviously how we treat it based on experiences, how good it's going to be or not. So a novice young writer can get the same inspired idea that you and I would get or whatever, but then we know what to do with it. They don't. And here's why. It's like most novice writers, they take the inspired idea and they put it on the table and they go, oh, it needs this and it needs this and it needs this and it needs that. Let's move this over here. And a brilliant songwriter knows how to put the same inspired idea and goes, it doesn't need that. It doesn't need that. It doesn't need that. It's subtractive.
Yeah, subtractive. Yeah.
And so social media, my daughters who are in their late 20s now, they grew up with Twitter. Do you know what it forced them to do? Communicate in 40 characters.
Yep. Yeah.
I think the greatest songwriters are going to be born out of this social media experiment of having to learn to communicate with less word economy.
There you go.
And so I think it's going to serve us. But the downside is the noise.
Yeah.
The noise. And so I don't curse social media. I don't curse the world we live in. But I will say a young generation is going to have to choose to go, the scripture's just too full of wisdom that says, be still.
There you go.
Be still. Listen. Be still.
I love that. So one of our thoughts was trying to, what's a tool you'd give a person there, like you can say they're going out on a hike, and what's the crucial tool that they need to leave the house with for you?
Internally or externally?
Whatever you think. I know you love guitars, so you might say take a guitar, but you might give them something else.
I fish a lot. I would say leave with a fishing pole. a fishing pole and a quiet mind.
There you go.
God can really speak through that. Find the thing that whatever is conducive to you being quiet.
Yeah.
Whatever will allow you to not scroll social media for the longest amount of time, lean into that.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. For me, it is cigars, black coffee, and 6 a.m.
I love it.
That's every morning. I'm happy right there on my back patio with a really good cigar, really great coffee, and I can be quiet.
Yeah.
And then by 8:30, I'm probably on my phone starting to figure out where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Your schedule.
But find whatever find the window to your soul and try to make much of it.
There you go. I love
Beautiful.
that. Awesome.
I mean, as we're coming to the end here, we always like to end it by asking how we can pray for you, your family, your church, your work, all of your endeavors.
I'm grateful. I would just we've talked a lot about it. I'm honored to be sitting here talking to y'all.
Aww.
And thank y'all for giving light to a lot of things I'm a part of, I guess. But
Yeah.
I would ask that you would pray for favor, that this thing we're building would, at all sides and all fronts, just continue to be kissed with the favor of the Lord. It is His story.
I love it.
My family's all involved with it. It's kind of this big, beautiful pursuit. Both my daughters are involved, and my wife, and on any given day, they're in the kitchen being chefs or cleaning toilets or
so good,
stacking tables or serving food. And we have a great crew, but the favor in this endeavor, I need the wonderful city of Columbia, Tennessee to say yes to some permits right now.
Yeah. There you go.
The effective, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much.
Yeah.
Right. Effective would be, I need permits.
All right. Well, we will pray for those permits for sure. And I've been to your place,
yes,
and you guys are so kind. And you definitely carry that pastor's heart around. You're hugging on people. You're talking at every table. You're just wanting people to have the most epic experience, and so it's awesome to see you in that space, and your wife and your kids, the whole nine. So. But thank you for being here, Michael, and we wish you so well on all your endeavors, and may the next song be an awesome song that you get the pleasure of writing. And until we meet again, friend, thank you for being here.
Thank y'all for having me.
The Crux. It's never just about surviving the hard part. It's about discovering who we are in it. Michael reminded us today that faithfulness isn't proven at the summit. It's forged in the struggle. It's when we choose to hold on and trust the one climbing with us. If this conversation moved you, we would love for you to take the next step. Not just to listen, but to live it out. So right now, you can help families in Haiti keep climbing their own mountains. Visit our Project Essentials page at handsandfeetproject.org, where every purchase directly fuels the mission of Hands and Feet Project. From the everyday items that keep our campuses running to special gifts that remind families they're seen and loved. There's items like goats and food baskets and all home essentials. Every item is going to tell a story of endurance and hope. So this month, join us in meeting real needs and blessing real families. Because when we give, we're helping others find their footing, and together we can all keep climbing.